Well, Prince Philip was widely known for his sense of fun, but also his legendary quick wit got him into hot water on more than one occasion.
For decades, Queen Camilla believed she had secured an unshakable place within the heart of Britain's most iconic royal residences. But behind the palace walls, a secret order penned by Prince Philip quietly shattered those hopes.
He is committed of his own level of service, and that will remain true.
Locking her out of the very homes that symbolize royal power and legacy. How could a sealed decree override the certainty of royal marriage and reshape the future of the monarchy's private life? This private command did more than restrict living quarters. It drew an invisible boundary around Camilla's influence, forcing her to navigate royal life as a visitor rather than a permanent presence. What does this mean for the queen consort, the crown, and the delicate balance between duty, loyalty, and family? Decree's immediate impact. The moment Queen Camilla heard the sealed decree read aloud inside Clarence House, the course of her royal life changed forever. She had entered the room expecting confirmation that her permanent apartments at Windsor Castle were finally approved. Instead, the words shattered that expectation. Every crown residence she once considered a future home, Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Balmoral, Sandringham, was now off-limits for permanent residence and independent control. The decree did not simply close doors, it locked them firmly against her, stripping away rights she had believed were guaranteed. This casting aside wasn't just a personal rejection. It was a formal, institutional sanction. Crown residences are held by the monarchy itself, not owned or controlled by any individual. That distinction meant the decree carried the weight of royal tradition and law, not just family politics. Camilla could visit these places, attend ceremonies, and even stay temporarily when duty called. But owning private quarters or establishing her own household within these walls was forbidden. Seeing her future vanish, Camilla's composure cracked visibly. King Charles reached out to calm the moment, but Camilla pulled the papers closer like a shield, confronting the harsh reality that Prince Philip's last orders had sealed her fate. The king's silence afterward only deepened the wound. This was no sudden decision, but the culmination of years of planning by Philip, a plan that even Charles could not easily unravel. Behind those words lay a cold finality. No future royal spouse outside the direct line of succession could claim control over crown residences that belonged to the sovereign and heirs. These were not mere properties, but symbols and tools of power, governance, and tradition, meant to protect continuity beyond personal loyalty. The decree was precise, deliberate, and chilling, written without anger, but with cutting clarity. As Camilla absorbed this blow, she realized this decree wasn't just about where she would live. It was about the very nature of belonging in a monarchy steeped in centuries of rules and silent expectations. It called into question her place within an institution that often balanced ceremony with cold pragmatism. What she faced was not just a spatial boundary, but a deep personal and political divide. The shaded meaning of this document intensified when Camilla noticed a missing page, an unknown clause held tightly by only 3 people: Charles, Princess Anne, and Prince William. This hidden portion fueled both intrigue and dread, suggesting that the decree's reach was even broader than she had imagined. The scene foreshadowed a confrontation not only about rooms, but about royal authority, loyalty, and succession. This initial moment seized Camilla's hopes and forced her to confront a truth no ally could easily soften. Her role inside the royal family's most respected and powerful spaces was not assured, but conditional and controlled by others. The unexpected decree was an institutional veto, a silent but unmistakable restriction on the queen consort's influence where it mattered most. For Charles, watching his wife's confidence crumble opened old wounds between duty and love, between honoring a father's final command and supporting a wife whose place had just been dramatically diminished. The personal pain seethed beneath the surface, entangled with the broader question of how the monarchy protects its future. Yet, the decree's stark lines revealed a painful divide between the private life of marriage and the public life of monarchy. Camilla's struggle was no longer just about love or respect. It was a battle for belonging inside a world defined by rules older and deeper than any personal vow. Behind every sealed decree is a story waiting to be told. And for Camilla, that story was about to unfold in ways she could never have imagined. A decree this powerful needed to be understood in the context of royal property and tradition, where lines between personal and institutional ownership run deep and are fiercely protected. Royal residence rules. Royal residences are unlike any ordinary homes. They are held in trust for the monarchy and the nation, managed not as family property, but as institutional assets vital to the continuity and dignity of the crown. This distinction is at the heart of why Prince Philip's decree has such far-reaching effects. These residences, including Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Balmoral, and Sandringham, are official working homes for the sovereign and heirs, guarded by legal frameworks and trustees beyond any individual's authority. Unlike private homes, crown residences cannot be simply gifted, sold, or repurposed by the reigning monarch or their spouse. They exist to support the monarchy's functions, ceremonial, governmental, and familial, ensuring that each generation inherits a stable foundation free from personal disputes. The decree thus transcends family conflict. It is a command rooted in protecting the institution across generations. For Camilla, this means that despite her title as Queen Consort and participation in public ceremonies, she lacks the independent right to claim or control private living quarters within these residences. She cannot establish her own household staff, allocate rooms, or approve renovations without consent from the decree's appointed guardians. Her status inside the walls is limited to that of a guest, rather than a permanent resident with authority. This limitation strikes at the core of royal influence, where power is often exercised quietly through household control, staff appointments, and residential privileges. Living permanently within a palace is not just about comfort. It is a marker of belonging, authority, and access to the levers of royal life. Camilla's inability to claim these rights weakens her behind-the-scenes role, curtailing her sway in the inner workings of the monarchy's daily life. The responsibilities tied to these residences also extend beyond the present monarch. Trustees and senior royal officials oversee their maintenance, use, and succession, making decisions that reflect continuity over individual preference. Prince Philip's decree interfaces directly with this governance, codifying rules designed to prevent any one consort from altering a legacy built over centuries. Understanding this backdrop clarifies why Philip's decree caused such a seismic shift. It was not a mere family disagreement aired in private, but a binding framework designed to prevent future disputes over residences or household control. The decree's power comes from its foundation in law and tradition, not just personal will. For Camilla, the decree transforms her relationship with the palaces that symbolize royal history and power. Where she once envisioned permanent homes, she now faces temporary stays, conditioned by approval and oversight. This cold reality draws a clear institutional boundary that few outside royal circles had fully understood. This institutional context also explains why the king himself cannot simply overturn the decree at will. Unlike personal property, crown residences come with protections enforced by trustees and senior officials charged with preserving the monarchy's legacy, a system designed to withstand the whims of any one individual, even a reigning monarch. The rules surrounding these residences illuminate the tension between personal loyalty and constitutional duty within the royal family, a tension embodied in Camilla's current predicament. The decree is a legal bulwark, protecting crown property at the expense of the queen consort's personal aspirations. When private authority grapples with public tradition, the stage is set for conflict that extends well beyond the palace walls into the heart of royal governance. Behind this institutional barrier stand the figures entrusted with enforcing Philip's decree, a human element that turns legal language into personal power plays, guardians and authority. At the center of this decree's enforcement are three key royal figures: Princess Anne, Prince William, and King Charles himself. Each holds a distinct role in upholding the mandate that restricts Camilla's access and influence over crown residences. Together, they form a gatekeeping triad whose authority has redefined the queen consort's position within the palace. Princess Anne was named by Philip as the primary guardian of the decree. Her duty is not a privilege but a solemn responsibility to prevent affection, pressure, or private bargaining from weakening the order. This role places her firmly between Camilla and any attempt to gain permanent residential rights or household control within the principal royal homes. Anne's position underscores the seriousness with which the family treats this decree. Prince William's signature is also required for Camilla to claim even a single permanent private suite in a crown residence. This requirement reinforces the decree's protective intent, ensuring the next generation's household maintains priority and continuity. William is thus empowered to uphold the interests of his own future reign, creating a direct check on Camilla's ambitions. King Charles, caught between loyalty to his father's command and devotion to his wife, carries the weight of this family and constitutional divide. Though he might wish to shield Camilla, he recognizes the legal and institutional complexities that limit his ability to simply reverse Philip's intentions. His silence and cautious steps reveal the personal fragility surrounding this issue. For Camilla, this triad represents both obstacle and reality. She confronts not simply a document, but the combined authority of the heir's guardian, and the reigning king, all united in their duty to preserve the monarchy's future. This layered guardianship makes challenging the decree a daunting and deeply personal ordeal. The decree's enforcement reveals how royal power is negotiated quietly through invisible channels, through signatures, guardianships, and the oversight of trustees entrusted with safeguarding the crown's interests across generations. It is a system designed to outlast personal feelings, ensuring institutional stability over individual influence. This authority structure also explains why Camilla's attempts to negotiate or soften the decree have stagnated. Any push against it triggers institutional safeguards that strengthen restrictions rather than loosen them. The legal framework Philip set up anticipates resistance and counters it decisively. Anne and William, though not adversaries, embody the monarchy's protective instincts, ensuring that no single consort can override the established order or the succession's security. Their positions symbolize the tension between family and institution, tradition and personal relationship. The daily reality for Camilla is that these guardians hold the keys, figuratively and literally, to her access, influence, and permanence within the royal residences. Their approvals shape what rooms she may enter and under what conditions she may stay. As this triad's authority unfolds, so too does the true complexity of royal power. A world where personal relationships intersect with centuries-old structures that govern who really belongs. The shadows of past conflicts and private disagreements stretch long over these royal residences, coloring every interaction and decision that follows. The Windsor dinner incident. The origins of the secret decree can be traced back to a tense private dinner at Windsor Castle, where simmering family tensions finally surfaced with unmistakable clarity. During this gathering, a proposal was discussed to reserve a significant family apartment for Prince William, Catherine, and their children, an early claim on space that sparked immediate resistance from Queen Camilla. She argued that decisions about such important residences should be left until after Charles ascended the throne, insisting that claiming territory prematurely disrupted the natural course of royal succession and household formation. Her stance was firm. The future sovereign's household should be built without the burden of restrictions inherited from a previous reign. Prince Philip was present for this exchange, and he listened intently as Camilla voiced her concerns. To him, this disagreement was far more than a matter of rooms. It was a window into deeper anxieties about the future of the monarchy. When Camilla described the proposed reservations as unnecessary and territorial, Philip quietly questioned whether the direct heirs would be considered mere guests in their own inheritance. His measured but pointed challenge struck at the heart of what he saw as a dangerous uncertainty growing within the family's power dynamics. The atmosphere grew charged as Camilla insisted that Charles had sacrificed much already and deserved freedom when he finally took the throne. She wanted the next generation to inherit without old restrictions shadowing their reign. Catherine remained silent during much of this, but her subtle body language, shifting her chair and exchanging a glance with William, spoke volumes to observers. The future king's hesitation reflected a growing conflict between loyalty to his parents and protecting his own household's future security. Philip observed these cues carefully. He recognized the moment was no longer about apartments alone, but about whether the influence and authority of the next generation could be compromised by existing relationships. That night, he took decisive action. He dictated the first clause of his secret decree, recorded meticulously in private papers, a command that no consort outside the direct line of succession could diminish or place conditions on an heir's residential standing. This legal framework was designed to outlast any personal loyalties or pressures. The decree emerged as a constitutional safeguard, balancing love and duty, but ultimately prioritizing continuity. Philip made clear that while consorts hold ceremonial importance, they must not disrupt the unbroken chain of succession and the privileges it entails. The next night brought a chilling conversation with Charles, where Philip sought reassurance that his son would protect William's household from any demands Camilla might make. The prince's cautious words were heard as a warning, not a promise of rebellion. By expanding his decree from one Windsor apartment to all principal royal residences, Philip ensured its resilience. He engineered a system that would defend the future monarch's interests beyond question, even if it meant limiting the queen consort's influence. What began as a family disagreement thus grew into a comprehensive legal and constitutional barrier. Years later, this private dinner's echoes returned to Windsor in a confrontation unlike any before. Camilla faced Princess Anne and Prince William alone, with the secret decree laid bare between them. No intermediaries softened the moment. Without aids or preparations, the meeting was raw, personal, and heavy with decades of unresolved tensions. Camilla's accusation that the decree was used to humiliate her forced a stark reckoning inside the room. The power of a dead man's will weighed against her presence as queen consort. The dispute was no longer about physical space, but about status, respect, and control in one of the world's oldest surviving monarchies. That dinner, intended as a simple familial matter, had unleashed a force that reshaped royal life forever. What began as a conversation about rooms became a profound statement about power, succession, and the unyielding architecture of royal authority. As the personal clashed with the institutional, the battle for residence and recognition grew more complex, weaving through layers of family, law, and tradition. No single dinner could close such a divide, yet it ignited a chain of events that would shadow every royal step thereafter: succession and protection. Prince Philip's decree was not simply about denying Queen Camilla access. It was fundamentally about securing the future of the monarchy's direct line. It prioritized the inheritance rights of Prince William and Catherine, inscribing their claim to specific crown residences and household privileges beyond question. This succession-focused protection rests on a dormant schedule that activates with William's assumption of greater constitutional duties, ensuring immediate residential priority at Windsor and Buckingham Palace. This legal framework goes far beyond traditional arrangements. Once triggered, it guarantees that the heirs and their family apartments, staff access, and household spaces are preserved regardless of the reigning monarch's consort or competing claims. The decree's protective mechanisms are designed to prevent any future consort from undermining or occupying spaces designated for the next sovereign and their family. For Camilla, this meant that her fight was not only against a document, but against a carefully constructed shield around the next generation's physical and symbolic foothold. Her influence was circumscribed not merely by rules, but by a legacy crafted to ensure that William and Catherine's position cannot be contestable. It is a safeguard built to withstand personal, emotional, or political pressures. The decree required Charles to choose between supporting his wife's status or defending the rigid inheritance plan crafted by his father. This dilemma weighed heavily on the monarch, whose desire to protect both the institution and his marriage found no easy solution. He ultimately decided not to challenge the decree, understanding that doing so would risk fracturing the monarchy's stability and public image beyond repair. The first tangible consequence arrived quietly, without fanfare, a polished ring of keys placed on a Windsor table, signaling that Camilla's permanent household at the castle would not proceed. Her staff departed, her private plans halted, and all future stays relegated to temporary visits requiring approval. The queen consort had lost access to the certainty of belonging, not her title, but her place within the palatial heart of the monarchy. This decision demonstrated the divide between personal devotion and institutional duty. Charles preserved the monarchy's continuity at the cost of his wife's authority inside the crown's residences. It was a solemn balance between protecting the future and accepting personal loss. Beyond Windsor, the decree's influence spread. Staff members assigned to Camilla's household learned they could not transfer automatically into permanent positions within crown residences. This limitation fragmented her independent network, weakening her capacity to wield influence indirectly. The reallocation of prominent suites, including Camilla's preferred Balmoral suite, assigned instead to William and Catherine, made clear that Philip's decree had transitioned from symbolic protection to active reshaping of royal living arrangements. It confirmed the decree's enforceability and its profound impact on royal domestic life. Yet amid these divisions, an unexpected development emerged. Catherine requested a private meeting with Camilla, free from royal aids and formalities. Two women, both defined by the same institution yet positioned on opposite sides of the decree, faced each other not as adversaries, but as participants in a delicate negotiation of power and dignity. The conversation unveiled the human cost behind the legal framework. Catherine admitted her knowledge of the decree and her fears that her children's future place might depend on unstable personal approval rather than established rights. She offered a compromise, a permanent private sanctuary for Camilla at one of Charles's personally owned residences, beyond the crown system's reach and protected from palace politics. Though Camilla did not forgive the decree, she ceased demanding that Catherine relinquish the protections Philip had secured. Instead, she agreed to help craft a public statement aimed at preventing this family conflict from erupting into open war. The quiet truce reflected a recognition that personal pain must sometimes yield to the monarchy's survival. Philip's succession safeguards shaped a new royal reality, one where continuity and inheritance prevail over personal desire, and where the future king's household remains a fortress against disruption. This reality suspended Camilla's dreams of unquestioned belonging, but paved a path toward coexistence amidst unspoken boundaries. The palace walls hold many secrets, but none as profound as the struggle to balance love, legacy, and power. Camilla's confrontation. The inevitability of confrontation came quietly, but with immense weight, as Queen Camilla sat across from Princess Anne and Prince William, the guardians of Philip's decree. There were no royal aids or carefully crafted statements, only 4 chairs around a table holding decades of resentment and the sealed decree itself. Camilla pushed the document aside, accusing them of wielding a dead man's authority to humiliate her. The room tightened instantly, charged by emotion and years of unspoken grievances. This meeting was a crossroads. Camilla faced a stark choice: accept her restricted status as a temporary guest within the crown's greatest residences, or fiercely challenge the decree through the royal household's property council. Such a challenge would not remain private. It threatened to publicly expose fractures at the monarchy's very core. The weight of this decision pressed on every person in the room. She turned to William first, pleading that refusing an exception would punish Charles more than herself. She painted a poignant picture of a king forced to watch his wife treated as an outsider within his own reign's homes. William met her gaze steadily, explaining that his father's pain did not justify dismantling protections essential for future generations. His calm but firm refusal underscored the decree's purpose: to guard stability above personal loyalties. Princess Anne remained silent for much of the exchange, but spoke when Camilla claimed Philip never understood the modern monarchy. Anne leaned in, voice steady and low, asserting that Philip had anticipated every argument, every pressure Charles would face. Her resolve embodied the institutional duty she bore, enforcing a legal document that transcended family ties. Neither Anne nor William personally owned the crown, yet the decree entrusted them with authority that placed them directly between Camilla and the residences she sought. This unexpected power dynamic left her isolated, not just in terms of access, but in terms of influence within the royal structure. The emotional and political distance this created deepened the sting of exclusion. When Camilla demanded the missing second page, Anne revealed the decree's brutal clauses. Any attempt to pressure the sovereign to override the document would trigger harsher restrictions. For Camilla, pushing harder would only tighten the noose. Another clause barred her from controlling renovations, household appointments, or room assignments in the major crown residences without written consent. These elements cut away not only her access, but her ability to wield influence behind palace doors. Voices finally rose. Camilla accused her adversaries of turning Philip's fear into punishment. William responded that the decree stemmed from that very fear, one that had been ignored too long and needed to be respected. Anne readied to close the case, confirming that nothing had been altered since Philip's death. The air thickened with tension as royal authority weighed over personal pain. Charles entered toward the end, not immediately addressing Camilla, but probing William about any personal message from Philip, explaining the decree's severity. The king understood that the real power rested beyond Philip's alone. It lay with the future of the crown itself. The restrictions ensured triple guardianship, shielding succession from fleeting emotions and individual influence. For Camilla, the moment was crushing. The decree was not a mere relic, but a living framework, supported by the reigning monarch's son and sister. She faced a wall that no amount of personal loyalty or royal grace could dismantle, confronting the harsh reality of institutional forces determined to protect a legacy she could not fully join. The tension between family and institution had never felt so palpable, nor so irrevocable. The unfolding of that confrontation echoed into the public sphere, where the private became an unavoidable spectacle. Public fallout. Once the secret decree spread beyond palace gates, its impact rippled across Britain and the world, igniting a media frenzy and intense public debate. Images of a queen standing outside homes she could visit but never truly claim became a powerful symbol of exclusion, capturing public imagination and dividing opinion. Commentators called it Philip's final intervention. Some praised his foresight in safeguarding the monarchy's future, while others condemned the cold legalism behind it. Reports emphasized that Camilla would retain her title and duties but lose permanent authority over key royal residences. The distinction between public role and private power quickly became the central issue. Palace communications confirmed she would continue official appearances but could not establish a permanent household in major residences. This revealed a deeper truth beneath royal tradition. Authority often depends as much on control of private spaces as public status. The debate intensified around the tension between marriage and monarchy. Public attention turned to the divide between personal royal property and crown estates held for institutional continuity. It became clear this was not about physical space, but about whether personal relationships could override centuries-old protections tied to succession and legacy. The issue struck at the heart of the modern monarchy. Amid the growing scrutiny, Camilla quietly revised her public statement. She removed defensive language and instead expressed respect for arrangements protecting future generations. This subtle shift signaled a quiet truce, prioritizing dignity over confrontation. Headlines amplified the drama, with one paper declaring, "The Queen who may visit, but never rule the rooms." The phrase captured the nation's conflicted reaction, acknowledging duty while recognizing personal cost. Charles watched in silence, balancing his commitment to family and duty. The sentiment that love had yielded to responsibility echoed in public commentary and reflected his private burden. Despite the turmoil, Camilla and Catherine later appeared together at a royal engagement. Their composed silence signaled unity over division. Though unresolved, their presence showed a fragile but necessary truce, preserving the monarchy's image under intense scrutiny. Behind closed doors, a profound decision awaited Camilla, one that would redefine her place in royal history. The private truce. In the aftermath of fierce disputes and public scrutiny, a fragile compromise emerged behind closed palace doors. Queen Camilla and Catherine agreed to a private meeting, away from aides and royal formality. It became a rare moment of honesty between two women shaped by the same institution, yet divided by its consequences. Their conversation was not confrontational, but reflective. Catherine admitted she had known about the decree, but never fully understood its weight until its effects became unavoidable. Her past silence, she revealed, came from fear. Fear that her children's future might one day rely on approval rather than established inheritance. Camilla, in turn, expressed the quiet pain beneath her composed image. After years of public judgment to stand beside Charles, she discovered her position remained limited by a decision that secured another's future at her expense. Their exchange exposed how institutional rulings can deeply shape personal lives, influencing both loyalty and resentment. In a surprising gesture, Catherine offered support for a private sanctuary for Camilla within one of Charles's personal residences. Though modest compared to royal palaces, it would exist outside the crown's authority, free from political oversight and succession constraints, a space where Camilla's place would not be questioned, challenged, or quietly diminished by future institutional decisions or shifting royal expectations. Camilla did not forgive the decree, but she accepted its permanence. Rather than resist it, she chose to help craft a public statement to prevent further division. Her decision transformed personal hurt into an act of restraint and dignity. Beyond palace walls, public opinion remained divided. Some viewed the decree as exclusionary, others as necessary for continuity. Ultimately, the quiet truce between Camilla and Catherine reflected a shared understanding. The monarchy survives not through conflict, but through controlled unity and sacrifice. Queen Camilla's journey reveals how royal duty and personal loyalty can clash in unexpected, deeply human ways. Her story reminds us that the monarchy's strength lies in balancing tradition with evolving realities. If you found this insightful, please like the video and subscribe for more in-depth royal updates. Thanks for watching.